I'm a huge fan of the Rolex Daytona, but this one, it takes it to another level. So I walked into the office this morning and there was one thing on my desk. It was the Rolex Daytona, the 50th anniversary platinum with the ice blue dial. This thing is incredible. Let's dive into it. Okay, so let's dive straight into the specs firstly. It comes in at 40 millimeters in diameter. Now, this is slightly smaller than my 42 millimeter sports watches that I have, but because of those tapered lugs that really nicely taper off and seem to wrap around the wrist, it has a bigger wrist presence. Its thickness comes in at 12.2 millimeters and its lug to lug comes in at 47.5 millimeters. Now these measurements are pretty perfect for my wrists. I have slimmer wrists coming in at about 6.5 inches. So I normally choose between 40 to 42 millimeters and maybe going up to 43 at push. So this is pretty perfect. It hits that sweet spot in watch measurements. Moving on to the case and the bracelet and the materials used for the case and the bracelet, and I'm going to dive into a little bit of a personal story, so excuse my ramble, but one of my aspirational pieces as a kid and even now at 24 has always been a Rolex Daytona with a steel bezel, the steel bezel, not the ceramic, and the white dial. I just love it, and it feels quality. It's quality to touch. I really love that watch. But then we come to this. It's in its own league. It literally is the heaviest watch I've ever picked up. I've felt platinum very few times in my life, but now I know why it's so attractive. You know, one of my favorite things about being on set, obviously the watches are one of them, but the free biscuits are so good. Okay, so I've done with the biscuit. Let's move on to the bracelet. It actually switches between polished and satin, and it's an oyster bracelet. It looks and feels very, very quality. It's platinum. It's very, very heavy, but I do love the fact that there's that contrast there between the satin and the polished. And when you reflect it in the light, you can really see the difference, and it reflecting the light, it's just very attractive. It's a handsome, handsome bracelet. Let's move on to the dial and the bezel. So the bezel comes in a chestnut brown color, which is really, really unique. It comes with a tachymetric scale around the outside, and the dial comes in an ice blue. I honestly have never seen brown used this well on a dial. It plays wonderfully with each other, and I urge you to get this on the wrist because to me, photos just don't do it justice. It is beautiful. A little point that you may not have known about this bezel, about this Cerachrome bezel, is that the tachymetric scale round it is filled with platinum. So you have Cerachrome, which is the bezel, and then you also have platinum mixed throughout. We've been talking a lot about Cerachrome, but what actually is Cerachrome? Well, it's a combination of chrome and ceramic. And another little fact for you is that that blue, that ice blue dial is actually reserved for Rolex's platinum models. And let's talk about that dial a little bit further. That ice blue dial actually has a sunray pattern running through it. And the brown against this ice blue isn't a combination I would have thought of, but it works incredibly well, and I've never seen it before. It's just a really, really great combination. When it comes to purchasing a luxury watch, there's no doubt that it's all in the details. That's what makes a luxury watch luxury. And this little detail that I found on the Rolex is pretty interesting. It actually has white gold, indices, hands, and the Rolex crown that you can see there on the dial. And the reason for this is because it prevents oxidization, and it doesn't tarnish over time. So they've used white gold instead of, say, steel. If you want to shop pre-owned Rolex models or any models in our pre-owned range, make sure you head to chisholmhunter.co.uk. That's chisholmhunter.co.uk. Moving quickly back onto the watch at hand. It features chronograph pushers and also a screw down crown. Now the screw down crown and chronograph pushers justify the water resistance, which is actually 100 meters, which is quite impressive for a chronograph. Oh, it's cold. I'm gonna put this far away. I'm done with coffee for the day. I'm just gonna shove it down there. So let's move on to the movement, which is by far one of the most attractive things about this model. The movement in this model is a self-winding Rolex caliber 4130. It's precise to -2 to +2 seconds a day. The functions include a center hour, minute, and second hand, small seconds hand at 6 o'clock, a chronograph center hand accurate to within 1/8 of a second, a 30-minute counter at 3 o'clock, and a 12-hour counter at 9 o'clock. It also has stop seconds for precise time setting. On top of all these features that are Within this Daytona model, it also has an approximate power reserve of 72 hours. Now, how do I feel about this model personally? The word that I would use here is, well, unexpected. I didn't expect the brown to play with that blue as incredibly as it does. I didn't expect it to be this heavy. I didn't expect it to wear as well as it does. I just didn't expect it to be this good. And I have to say, I am a huge fan of Rolex, but this really hits it out of the park for me. It is in a different league to some of the watches that I've tried on before. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Time on the Wrist. If you want to join the Chisholm Hunter watch community, make sure you subscribe here. If you want to see the watch vlog where we take some pretty insane watches to some pretty incredible locations around Scotland, make sure you click here.